running for president. Why does the DNC want a person on the ballot who is not running for president? They want to do that because they want to interfere with the election and interfere with the choice of Americans, and I don't think that's a good.
I agree with that. I appreciate the explanation. I'm not refuting it, but respectfully, it still didn't answer my question. Had that not happened, which side would you have been on? Of course, if one side irritates you by doing all of those things, it's easy to go to the other side. But if none of that have happened, where would you be sitting right now?
Let me answer that. If the Democratic Party had let me participate in primaries, right, I would have stayed in the Democratic Party.
Okay.
That's an honest answer.
President Trump has asked me to reorganize the federal health agencies, the agencies that have a portfolio that affects human health, which is CDC, NIH, FDA, as well as some of the agencies within the United States Department of Agriculture. He's asked me to clean up the corruption, number one. Number two, end the conflicts of interest, return those agencies to their rich tradition of gold standard, empirically based, evidence-based science, evidence-based medicine, and to end the chronic disease epidemic in this country. And he's asked me specifically to measurably reduce chronic disease in our children within 2 years.
Which candidate has the capacity to go like this to everybody? The person who isn't going to change their mind constantly? The person who didn't put Supreme Courts in justice that took my rights away? I don't even need to say that person's name. You know exactly who it is.
So, Jenna, let's get a balanced take on it. Tiffany Justice, co-founder of the Moms for Liberty. How do you believe the issue of not just reproductive rights, but where women are going to be in terms of what they will prioritize in this election?
Yeah, I think Jenna's right. I think American women are infuriated, and we're infuriated about the fact that only a third of children are reading on grade level in America's public schools. Where was my body, my choice during COVID?
Yes.
Right? So, you know, it's almost 9 o'clock. We spent a lot of time talking about something that is now an issue for the states to handle. And I think it's time we start talking about where we really are in America when it comes to kids. And as far as Jenna's point about which candidate is going to put their arms around everyone, you know what I see? I was at MSG. I gave the invocation on Sunday, and I saw RFK there. I saw Tulsi Gabbard there. I saw people in that audience that have never voted Republican before in their lives, and they're coming together to support Donald Trump. So we're looking towards the future. We're very concerned about the health issues that we're seeing across the country, and making America great again, making America healthy again is something that American moms want.
Hey, I got a good one for you. News Nation had a final panel, like a final reaction leading up to the election. And as you saw from the intro, you had RFK there, Stephen A. Smith, all these other political people. And I love the way News Nation did it. And I wish more news networks did that panel, did that format. My biggest criticism for mainstream media was the fact that they do not allow equal representation of both sides in the audience. And also another thing I find annoying is that they like to filter like hardened Trump supporters and not allow them to speak. In News Nation, they do something completely different. They have, you know, Democratic strategists, and then you had Tiffany Justice, who, if you follow my channel, I reference her a lot when I come and talk about education, because as a parent, as a father, I'm interested in how my children are being raised, how my children are being influenced. And it shows the dichotomy of the kind of women that vote for Kamala Harris versus the kind of women that vote for Donald Trump. The kind of women that vote for Kamala Harris, it's merely purely selfish reasons. Purely because I want the ability to kill a baby, because if the baby's inconvenient to my life, if I can't get millions of dollars in child support, like this is the imagery I have of a woman that votes for Kamala Harris based on reproductive rights. While if you saw the other parent, the women that vote for Donald Trump are women who are married, women with children, women who care about the interests of children. And you wonder why many conservatives, right? They believe that if you do not have children, you have no interest in the long-term flourishing of the country, because education is something that is very instilled for long-term people. The health of the children, that's long-term thinking. But if you're living right now, who cares about the health of future Americans? Let's keep everything the same. I want to benefit from what's going on right now. What are you going to do for me? With you, me. And the idea that this Democratic strategists try to virtue signal off of this, and the fact that the media is so scared that Donald Trump is going to put RFK in charge of the health organization, I find it laughable. Oh, he's not an expert. Who gives a damn? Joe Rogan perfectly is going to encapsulate exactly what I'm thinking right here. So let's play a little clip of this, and then I'll show you a clip of Mark Cuban getting owned by Bill Riley. So let's take a look at what Joe Rogan has to say.
People are just doing shots and drinking tequila, and marijuana is something that gets you locked in a cage. As long as something like that exists that's preposterous and completely illogical, the good that it serves is the ruling class. It gets to rule without logic because they don't have to. It doesn't have to make sense. You're going to jail. You know, like,
exactly. Isn't that what's going on right now with the DOJ? Many people believe this. I'm an independent, and I see it. I'm like, yo, y'all can't just give Trump a felony charge just because you disagree of the worth of his estate. You judging real estate in Florida, and you are a New York judge. What expertise do you have to accurately evaluate a property just because he only pays $20 million in taxes? But you got all these tax loopholes in Florida. Like, come on, make it make sense. What does a New York judge know about evaluating luxury real estate property? And because the government disagrees with how Trump pitched his property value to get a loan that he was able to pay off, by the way, with interest, you give him 34 counts, 34 felony counts, and you wonder why people think this is a politically motivated lawfare against Donald Trump. I digress.
and it's, as long as they say that, you're like, we raise your taxes, you got to pay them. You're going to jail. But the fucking Constitution, shut up. So if there's like an illegal situation like that, or an illogical situation like that, rather, it makes you lose faith in the whole system.
Exactly.
But when someone like RFK Jr. comes along and says, hey, I think we can fix this, it's like, give him a fucking chance. Maybe.
And that's what Donald Trump is doing, right? But you saw how the lady, we want someone that could unify people. It's not Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is like, let's keep everything the same. Let's go back to how things were. But everyone complained about how things were. That's why we got Trump in the first place. We complained about how the Republicans were, and we wanted something new. As much ish that people like to give conservatives, conservatives are stuck in their ways, or did this. We voted for Trump. We did something that you Democrats didn't want to do. Sorry, that your elites in the party interfered Democrat voters from doing. We picked someone, we're like, we want something different, and we actually acted on it. Democrats, they picked more of the same. And then they let their party get away with putting people in place that necessarily the American people did not want, the Democratic voter did not want. But here you guys lecturing us. At least Trump supporters can say, yeah, we voted for Trump in a primary. How many Democrat voters can say that? Not many. How? Not many, if not none at all, can say that they voted for Kamala Harris during the primary election. But you're complaining about threat to democracy. But Trump's a threat, all right. Trump's a threat to your bureaucracy. But I digress. Here's a clip. Before I react to a full thing in action. I want you to see this clip of Bill O'Reilly fact-checking the hell out of Mark Cuban and his claims during this New Nation town hall. Let's take a look.
And I love you. You're so wrong. Trump, inflation was up 25% over the Obama economy he inherited. Ask him about Yemen, where he decided not to take action and allowed 100,000 people to keep on dying in Yemen. Talk to him about his tariffs. What worked with his tariffs? He had 4 years to make tariffs work with China. China kicked his ass. China took him to court, right? Because he didn't know how tariffs worked, and it hurt the economy. The economy was rolling along, and it got so hit by the tariffs that his appointment to the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, had to come back in and cut interest rates 3 times. And then we get to the real point of reckoning, the pandemic. And what does he do? He says, if we don't test people, the viruses didn't really happen. He holds back on resources, except for Vladimir Putin, to keep people from getting healthy. That is not an accomplished president, Dana. He has not done anything. What he got, he inherited. You know what?
Right,
his administration was the same as his personal wealth. He inherited it.
I got to jump in with course corrections here. Number one, the real wages, which is really the only economic barometer for the folks, was up 8.2% in the 4 years Trump was president. 8.2 across the board for for working Americans. Fact. Under Biden-Harris, it is around 1%. No COVID pandemic. They have failed. Number two, inflation didn't start because Putin and the Arabs did anything. Inflation started, and I don't know whether you know this, Mr. Cuban, but Biden signed in his first week in office at least 20 executive orders, making it harder for every fuel company to harvest their product, whether it be fracking or oil or anything. The fuel company said, holy you know what, we're going to get hosed because our prices to get the stuff out of the ground are quadrupling, so we're going to do it retail now. That's what ignited it, not Putin and not Saudi Arabia. That is the truth.
No, I love the most. You know how I've been on this little talking point of mine about liberal projection. At the end of the clip, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but Mark Cuban went, "You're bloviating." I never heard that word in my life, ever. I just Googled it. And I'm like, yo, you're bloviating, Mark Cuban. You just said that Trump inflation was up 25% compared to Obama? What? Are you crazy? Are you stupid? Like, but look at this. U.S. monthly inflation. Just look at the chart. Trump averaged under 3% a year. I think his average was 2.5%, if I'm giving specifics. And Biden, over 37 months, he averaged over 3%. He just started getting near 3% now. So Trump, on his worst day, was still under 3%. And Biden's best day with inflation rate was around 3%. Make it make sense. But inflation started under Trump. You must have forgotten the 2022. 2022, oh my God. I hated 2022 because I was trying to get my house that I'm living in right now, and I had interest rate at 3.5. But because my builder was taking so long to build the house, every month I had to, every 3 months, I had to re-up my contract with the new interest rate. And I just saw my interest rate going up and up and up. So the inflation thing, I know it very well because I was personally harmed by it. Now I pay about 5.3%, which is still pretty good. But still, I went from 3.5, all the way to 5.3 over a span of a year because I moved into my house 2023. So I saw the personal cost. That added $500 extra on my mortgage. And Mark Cuban, lying, bloviating, you know what, thinks he can trick the American people with that crap. Oh, come on, get out of here, bro. He want to talk about Donald Trump being a snake oil salesman. What is more snake oil salesman than trying to sell someone on a perception that isn't true in reality? Everyone knows the economy is bad. And the fact that he tries to push the blame on Trump, make it make sense. Everything good that happened under Donald Trump is because of Obama. But then in the same breath, when Biden having this economy, no one gives Trump any credit. When something bad happens under Trump's administration, no, that's Trump's fault. When something bad happens in Trump's administration, that's Trump's fault. Anything good that happens in Trump's administration, oh, that was because of Obama. Democrats, typical leftists, always want to take credit for the good things, but don't want to take responsibility for the bad things. You're governing the country right now. Biden-Harris, the most powerful VP in history with 33 tie-breaking votes, the most in vice president history. She helped Joe Biden create this inflationary environment, and then you got Mark Cuban pretending that Trump's tariffs is going to hurt America. When the reality is, Biden still has some of Trump's tariffs still on the books. So if tariffs was just universally bad, why the hell Biden kept them then? Biden revoked everything else that Donald Trump did, the Keystone Pipeline, right? The border executive orders. Biden revoked all that, but he didn't revoke none of the tariffs that Trump put in place. But tariffs are bad, according to Mark Cuban. Such a liar. But I digress. I think you guys got a good overview. So I'm going to continue where the Moms from Liberty just finished owning that selfish Democratic strategist who's pretending that everyone can only unify under a left-wing vision. I want to react to the video in real time with you all, and let's go without further ado. Let's react to the in the moment conversation. Let's take a look.
Do you believe that Trump will be different this time than he was last time? Because he was not a conciliator. He was not about a big tent.
I don't think that the media ever gave President Trump a chance. I think they came after him right away.
Yeah, but
They tried to impeach him right away. The government worked.
We both know the former president. It is not the media that determines what a president does with their time.
The media has been completely unfair to President Trump in his first term. They were unfair to him in his first term. They have continued to be unfair, fake news again. And the truth of the matter is that we're cutting through all of that now. We're reaching more Americans than we ever had. To your point.
Hey, my brother in the black cat, I agree with it. That man was shaking his head. I'm sorry. I was supposed to let it play at least for another minute, but I felt like I had to chime in there. Everything she's saying is true. I talk about this a lot on this channel. If you're new here, there's a stat that 87% of news coverage on Donald Trump is negative. They help boost the negative perception on Donald Trump. You know how much negative news is surrounding Kamala Harris? Not a lot. 87% of the time, the media covers Harris positively. 87% of the time, they cover Donald Trump negatively. And you wonder why people have such a visceral reaction when it comes to Trump. Because all they hear most of the time, 80% of the time, is bad things about Donald Trump.
Sarah, social media has been an amazing opportunity for us to be able to talk to people and have conversations. And what I think you're going to see is that American women are going to vote for a brighter future, and that's going to be President Trump.
Go ahead. Tiffany, thank you. Stephen?
I don't have any resistance to what she's saying. I understand where she's coming from. I just love how everybody wants to point the finger at the media, but you don't remember to give the media credit for getting him elected in the first place because of all the publicity that they gave him, so he didn't even have to go out there and spend money campaigning.
Yeah, but that's more on your feelings to recognize that than on Donald Trump. Donald Trump, because one thing I'll say about Donald Trump has mastered the art of making adversity his advantage. No matter what adversity Donald Trump goes through, he somehow turns it into an advantage for himself. And I think that is the real cadence. It's not the media that got him elected. Trump got himself elected because Trump knew how to use that. He knew how to use his adversity to his advantage. Getting shot at, the mug shot, the political prosecutions from the Democratic Party in these Democratic states by these Democratic district attorneys. He knew how to use those adversities to his advantage. And the fact that the media is sitting here trying to take credit for it is just like the affirmative action trying to take credit for my success in my life. I digress, guys.
Campaigning because he was getting free publicity by being
Isn't that called
over
covering
the
the presidential
I'm just
race,
saying, no. I'm talking. You could say that, but ask Kasich and others, and the inordinate amount of airtime he was given compared to other candidates. Nobody was complaining about that at that particular.
That's why Hillary Clinton lost.
You do have those facts, and I know you know that.
All right. Yeah. Appreciate the conversation.
Hey, but that's the feeling on the media. Y'all try to paint Donald Trump as a villain, and that's why y'all was covering his every move, trying to find an opportunity to villainize him. Am I correct? And I'm correct? So that's more on you, media, than on Donald Trump. Oh, Donald Trump, he got free publicity. No. Y'all was giving him negative publicity, and he just happened to use that negative publicity to his advantage.
You and the president discussed how you will honor the Constitution. How can you trust President Trump to honor the Constitution when he was a sore loser last time and defied the Constitution, defied the constitutional succession, and attempted to basically stay in power despite the fact that he had lost the election? So how can you, is this the person you're making common cause to seek the constitutional nirvana? I have deep doubts about that.
Like I said, I disagree with President Trump on many things that he did during the last administration. He today has a heightened sensitivity towards censorship, towards the weaponization of the federal agencies against our democracy, to the emerging power of these totalitarian systems and totalitarian technologies, AI, facial recognition technology, low-level satellites that can look at every square inch of our country every day, all these other technologies that give totalitarian systems capacities they've never had before to monitor and control every aspect of our lives. He's sensitized to those, and I think what happened at the end of that election, there was a peaceful transition of power. Peaceful transitions of power are a critical part of our democracy, and I disagree with a lot of things that happened there.
You don't think
I think the attacks on our Constitution over the last 4 years have eclipsed anything that happened on January 4th. I think the censorship is the largest threat to American democracy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like the fact that you're the DOJ, like imagine like during the Biden-Harris administration, many unprecedented things happened during that time. Trump got convicted. Trump got hit with all these things. Trump got hit for stuff that they never punished previous presidents for having. Joe Biden himself violated that thing as a vice president. They never went after them like that. But what Trump did, oh, let's go for him. It was like they were trying to find excuses. They were trying to find justifications to go at Trump. And many people pointed out the political double standard. They say, oh, when Democrats do something, Hillary Clinton, get away with it. She wasn't even president, but she was allowed to have classified information on a private server. Donald Trump does the same thing. Now it's saying you want to prosecute him, even though he was a former president. Make it make sense, right? And then you got, or whatever his name is, Waldo over here, having this unbalanced. This is my problem. It's a two-way street, or it's not a street at all. Either you hold both sides accountable to the same standard, but you can't just tribally go after Donald Trump, microscopic Donald Trump, and then the same people are going to complain about how the media got Trump elected because we gave him unequal coverage because you're trying to find something bad about him. And this is a prime example of how the media set itself up for failure. But I digress. I want to hear what Stephen A. Smith is going to say to challenge RFK.
Fair enough. I do have this question. You have been a bit outspoken, to say the least, about the tactics you believe the Democratic Party has engaged in to sort of derail you and turn themselves against you or what have you. Had that not been the case, which side would you be on?
Well, the experience that I had in my own campaign, first of all, I try not to ever make any decision based upon my own personal prejudice or personal feelings. I try to do what's good for this country. And, but my personal experience of watching the Democratic Party turn against democracy Stephen, when I was a kid, the Democratic Party of my father, of Robert Kennedy, of John Kennedy, was the party that was fighting to make sure every American could vote for who they wanted. And I encountered a Democratic Party that canceled the primaries, literally, to make sure that Americans couldn't vote.
But Waldo over here on the panel, he's worried about, oh, why should you respect Donald Trump? And end of the day, even though Trump went out crying and screaming, or however you want to frame him leaving the office, he still left the office. Right? I could be mad as hell that I lost a game of basketball, but I can still shake the guy's hand at the end of it and say, hey, whatever, you won. Right? It doesn't matter how I got, like, it doesn't matter how you think I should act during that moment. I still conceded, I still left with my actions. Right? I didn't want to show up to you celebrating on the floor, winning the championship, aka Trump not showing up for the ceremony of Joe Biden being crowned the president of the United States. So what? And this is the problem I have with the left. They always expect people to act in the way that they want them to act. They have this box that they want you to fit in. If you don't fit in that box, you're un-American, you're unconstitutional, you're a fascist, you're a Nazi. They call you names. Because the liberals have this almost narcissistic way of looking at the world that if you do not act, or you do not act in the way they think you should act, therefore you're somehow evil. Oh, how you're a black man, you're voting for Donald Trump. You're voting against your best interest. It's something I heard throughout my life by liberals. And this is why I laugh, because I say history has not looked fond on liberalism a lot, because you guys are passively authoritarians. You use cultural weight, cultural dominance in Hollywood and all this stuff to gatekeep opportunities from people who politically deviate from you. Right? And this is why progressives have taken over your party, because they see you for who you are. Hey, you pretend that you're virtual signaling, you pretend you're for free speech. But the minute you hear something you don't like, all of a sudden, you want to castigate people as evil, demonize them, character assassinate, which is liberalism's first go-to option when it comes to political dissonance. They love to character assassinate you. And this is what they try to do to Donald Trump. So that way, when Waldo here makes a statement, oh, he tried to cancel the Constitution, they're like, oh yeah, that's Trump. That sounds like what something Trump would do. Yep. He definitely tried to do that without any verification, without any need or burden of proof. They can say whatever they want about Donald Trump, and as long as it fits that negative perception of Trump, people are assumed or conditioned to automatically believe it. And that is what I'm trying to talk against in this clip, but I digress. Let's continue.
I see somebody here. and then anointed a candidate, had a ballot coup against a candidate who had severe cognitive impairments, and anointed a candidate without a single vote, and then sued me to keep me off the ballot in 10 different states after 1 million Americans had signed petitions saying, we want to have a choice to have him on the ballot. It spent $10 million and forced me to spend $10 million fighting to stay on the ballot. And then as soon as I aligned myself with Donald Trump, they sued me to keep me on the ballot. And yesterday, I lost a lawsuit in the Supreme Court of the United States that forced my name to remain on the ballot in Michigan and Wisconsin. This was brought by the DNC. I'm not running for president. Why does the DNC want a person on the ballot?
But Trump's a threat to democracy. Trump's a fascist. And then look at their actions, not their words. Look at the deeds of the Democratic Party. Look what they're doing. Isn't that something what a fascist would do, using authoritarian means, centralized power to exact rule based on a purview? This is why I laugh when they try to label fascism far right. I'm like, no, it's not. It's far left. Fascism is far left. A lot of these people who are called fascists are socialists. How is that a far right part? Like, make it make sense. This is big government centralized power. Fascism can only exist in a socialist system, in a communist system, not a capitalist one, not a pure free market capitalist one, which many conservatives would prefer, with a little bit of regulation. But here's Wardo. Democrat talking points. Oh, he tried to cancel the Constitution. No, he tried to work within the framework of the Constitution. But just because he did something you don't like, aka challenge the results of an election, that Al Gore did, Hillary did, Democrat Party did the same thing. They're like, yo, I don't want to vote for, I forgot her name, Maxine Waters, saying that she don't agree with giving the delegates to Donald Trump. But you don't call that a threat to democracy now, do you, Guardo? And it's the unequal standards that I'm talking about. It's a two-way street or not a street at all. And that's the ethos that I believe in, consistency. I want a consistent standard across the board. As long as I know what the rules are, then you give me a way to actually present myself in a way that is congruent to all society. But if you sit here having this unequal standard about what counts as an insult and what doesn't count as an insult, calling people Nazis, not an insult. But say, hey, I hope your beeper don't go off. Oh my God, out of bounds. You cross a line. But you're not crossing a line demonizing people and associating them with the worst people in human history. Make it make sense, mainstream media. I'm done. I'm gonna let Bobby talk for one more minute and then I'll wrap up the video.
Who is not running for president? They want to do that because they want to interfere with the election and interfere with the choice of Americans. And I don't think that's
I agree with that. I appreciate the explanation. I'm not refuting it. But respectfully, it still didn't answer my question. Had that not happened, which side would you have been on? Of course, if one side irritates you by doing all of those things, it's easy to go to the other side. But if none of that had happened, where would you be sitting right now?
Let me answer that. If the Democratic Party had let me participate in primaries, right, I would have stayed in the Democratic Party.
Okay.
That's an honest answer. I want to get a question from the audience. You good with that?
Well, I'll leave the link to the whole thing in the description below. I think it was a good town hall. It was a great panel. I think if CNN and all these other news networks want to get more credible, they want more engagement, I think they need to do something more like what the News Nation Town Hall did. Because I think this was a masterclass. I like the format. I like the ability for the audience to directly interact with the panelists. I think that is something that we lost in our political discussions. And I think News Nation did a good job showcasing a format that I believe will take the news media in a better direction. It helps check a lot of their bias. It helps break this perception of the narrative grifters, propagandist machine label that the legacy media has gotten as of late. But I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree with my synopsis, my analysis of the town hall? Do you think this format will make CNN and other legacy news medias more credible if they took it? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.